How are you doing?
Right.
Working here, but you're in office.
It was all totally off.
Reset.
No, don't do reset.
We did.
That's what we did.
We reset. We're talking about the air team. We reset. Air
Oh,
reset
I'm thought you were talking about the air conditioning.
No.
Well, that's what I thought.
Terry, how was Pittsburgh, Terry? Everybody yesterday was facing the other direction. How was Pittsburgh? Did you get Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was good.
Just a quick up and turn around?
Yeah. One night. Yeah.
Wait, you go for some ice cream or cold
No,
food?
we were for Yeah. Yep, and so did Olivia Broadbeck, our work trainer.
Oh, really?
She's like, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think a lot of people went the week before. She's down.
Landover, probably. Yep. Why do you?
Because I did it well, it's kind of dead. I don't know.
What was the concert?
My experience is
One ticket, she works for Hershey.
oh yeah.
And I don't like this. There was the first, she got the 8th grade. And
I'm not that.
what, she walked, your sister, because it was
Did not believe.
Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney. She meet and greets and shit like that. I miss Tim McGraw. But McGraw is, she, and one of the graduates on, Fridays is Carolina, and all her sisters.
Why did I score one of it?
Yeah, and Julie, yeah, Tim, and,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so, and
lunch. How are you?
It's summer.
Well, then you're supposed to have your official town service.
It is. Old Charlie Brown.
You wear that to school, Brian.
I did. I wear it twice a year usually, you know. Kids like it, they get a hoot out of it. And then they tease me and say, Charlie Brown has more hair than you. Thanks,
Should've worn a
man.
shirt.
I know, right?
That's bad.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, Charlie Brown didn't have facial hair.
That's true. That Charlie. Charlie was like, what, 8? That's, I was hoping.
Yeah, but I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank Judy for calling.
Yeah.
You did learn.
Yeah, well, I should probably visit.
Yes, sir.
Car from one person. Car for that one person. Seriously.
really stick.
Lucky dog.
Ranch, owned by a girl that I graduated high school with in Southwest. Yeah, right outside of Yellowstone.
Right.
Yeah, so what's the other date?
September first week. That's what I was gonna ask. I mean, it'll be announced.
Yeah, I was gonna-
Just probably first Monday.
We try to figure out.
Anything we have in there yet? Nothing planned.
So,
First Labor Day.
Maybe there's a second.
Yeah.
What do we look like?
We don't have anything yet. Not planned that far out. We get back. So, so we should be good sometime in there, yeah.
Okay, I'll throw some dates.
Yeah. September 3rd should be good, I think.
Tuesday, September 3rd, Tuesday. Is that Rob? Oh.
Yeah, I don't have, I have no idea for September yet, 20. Yeah. Well, we know when that gets.
Commonwealth for
No,
goldfish.
no, no, diamond. We don't need goldfish. Roller, that's what
October.
yeah.
Is what I have.
The candy's been there.
Yeah, the candy, the quarter.
You gotta get a pizza. Gotta play the gun jar. Right.
Oh, he's gonna sign all the time.
Yep.
Call to order. This is a meeting of the Littlestown Area Board of School Directors. This is a live in-person meeting open to the public according to the Sunshine Act. By participating in this meeting, you are consenting to the recording, retention, and future viewing of this meeting. Barry, if you could do roll call, please.
Brian Boyer.
Here.
Nick Lovell.
Here.
Stephen Yerger.
Here. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Silence, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. We now recognize members of the public who have signed up to provide a comment as stipulated in policy 903. When your name is called, please approach the podium and state your name, confirm you are a resident or taxpayer of the district, and topic of discussion for the record. Please direct your comments to the board as a whole and not as an individual. We ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. The privilege to speak may be interrupted, revoked, or recessed on the meeting may be called by the chair if the speaker does not observe reasonable decorum and orderly conduct. Thank you. Wayne?
Good evening to the board. I have a couple items I would like to just make a comment on. Again, we're going after a second SSO. I don't see where we're gonna find the money for this year, next year, the following year. I'm looking at $1,341,838 in the hole this year alone. We don't have the money. I don't know where all this money's gonna come from. People are already taxed to the hilt, and they can't afford much more. I also see that homestead farmstead exclusion went up by $49.63. That's based on a $280,000 house, which is the median house in Littlestown. Here's my issue. That $49.63 difference from last year should actually go to the homeowner. It shouldn't be absorbed into a tax increase that's been proposed by this board. Nobody is going to see that $49.63 because it's going to be basically a wash. So it's kind of disingenuous in my opinion, because the farmstead homestead exclusion was set up to give residents, taxpayers, a break on their property taxes. I don't consider a break absorbing it with a tax increase. So I have serious issues with that. I also see the solicitors already raised their fees, $10 for partners an hour and $10 an hour for increase for associates. This is going to get very expensive, especially since Don Bell continues to use them a lot. It's added up. I've got the bills. It's added up to a lot of money. And we can't keep doing this. We can't keep using the solicitor like a gumball machine. It's crazy. Now I'm getting on to the mental health budget. I see we have a $526,758 mental health budget. 2 psychologists, 1 mental health therapist, 1 behavior specialist, and a PCCD grant for the 5th position. Here's my issue. I want to know, and I would love to know, why this has never bid out. $526,758 is over $500,000. I know people have reached out and wanted to have a bid on it and been turned down. That's not good. We should be bidding this out every time this comes up, regardless of positions or people are used to them or whatever the case may be. It should be bid out. In the budget add-ons, I see our property and liability insurance went up by $11,000. I see the PSBA at $28,000. I see supplementals, $8,100 for event workers if approved. Here's the problem. Once again, $47,100 that adds up to, or a 0.25% tax increase. I think we need to really start pulling this stuff in, because next year, we're only gonna have $400,000 left in our unassigned funds. If anything doesn't change, that's what we're gonna have. And we're not gonna have the money to pay this as we did this year, $1.341 million back. And I appreciate you all listening to me, and thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, start with a presentation.
So this is the meeting here. To cover, we're going to cover several topics on this. Is transportation, insurance, the SSO, mental health, some other things we're going to cover. We're going to have several asks of the board, the committee to take to the full board. So I'll just jump into that portion here. So first up, we'll talk about transportation. So the first item would be an ask of the committee to request quotes for athletic transportation services. What the ask is that the committee allow us to provide the quote document to go out for quotes on the work session to be viewed, to be approved, so that we can solicit quotes for the upcoming school year for athletic transportation services. Currently, we have in-house people doing it. We would continue that. This would kind of supplement any in-house people who do not select funds that we currently contract out. We've been told if we had a verbal contract or had a physical contract for the next several years, we would have a better rate. So this is our opportunity to take them up on that, see what kind of offers we can get to supplement our in-house operations. So it's just an ask that we provide that quote to Monday's meeting to then be voted on at the June meeting. So I just wanted to feedback on that first one, and then we'll jump to the next one after that.
Anybody has any questions?
No, it'll just actually be the quote document that the board will approve, that you guys can see what we are requesting service-wise, and what's going to be advertised out. It's going to be a very similar thing for the next one, which is the bid. So I guess the committee's okay with pushing that forward with the quote document.
Yeah.
So the same thing with the bid document. The bid document will be on. The difference with the bid document is we're requesting to have the ability to purchase or go out to bid post the meeting. So in the meeting, we'll have the budget approved. If the budget would be approved, within that, we've said we had earmarked $140,000 per bus. Timing to have that bus at the closest next school year as possible. We'd like to advertise that the immediate next day. So you would authorize the budget, and then you would authorize the bid document to then go out to bids the following day. That timetable, because if not, then we would have the timetable would be to go out to bid in June 18th, post the meeting, get bids back in July for the board to award the bid winner in August. If we would miss that, we would have to wait till August to do the bid documents, then select a winner potentially in October. So as long as you guys are good with that, we'll have that on here. Just wanted to that.
Good. All right.
Got the summer months to try to get all that together. And the last thing is just an informational. You'll see on the board meeting. We've had this every year. It's just an informational. It's a substitute transportation contract. What that is if somebody would leave and we cannot fill the position internally, it's a vacancy that we cannot accommodate. We would have a substitute fill that's contracted out. Similar, if we had tons of people out sick that day and we didn't have enough coverage, we would have a substitute come in and cover. It's very similar to what we do with every other substitute service. So, yeah, just very similar to teachers, professional staff, support staff. This is just the transportation. So you'll see that on there as well. Any questions, transportation related?
That last one is coming to the board for this month.
Correct. You'll see the contract and be able to vote on that to proceed, but that's just a fill positions as needed. So if we don't use it, there'll be no cost, and then if we use it, we need to.
Is that with Lincoln?
This one is with Christ. Lincoln does our special need runs.
And this is simply something that happens on a daily basis is for your information, because it's evident you are new.
The next piece is, I got quotes back at the beginning, or should I say the end of last month, for our property liability insurance, as well as our workman's comp insurance. The property and liability insurance we have through Utica. We've had Utica for a long time here in the district. We've always been satisfied with what they provide. This year we're seeing a 10% increase from last year, which is about $11,000 budget impact. So this is property and liability insurance. We have to have it. This is kind of that's why it's an information only. You can't go without it. And at this point, we use a party to solicit quotes, and this was the best rate, even with the 10% increase. We're still getting the best benefit. So just information on that. You'll see that's with the workman's comp. The workman's comp had an increase, but we have enough budgeted just in the workman's comp to allot that increase.
Thoughts or questions?
Okay, jump on to the next one. Stock and leader. So we just received the stock and leader, I guess, quote, so to speak. Within it is our partners and associates 10% or $10 an hour increase. This will be solicitor services for both general and special. It'll be an all-encompassing stock and leader. Right now, we have presented before that we have within the budget to accommodate this increase. So it's no additional budget impact from what's already been presented several times over several months.
Okay, thoughts or questions?
Good. Okay. So we'll jump into the supplemental contract. We don't have it here for you tonight, but we'll have something for Monday to review. This is pretty much the outline of what's happening. We've had a current supplemental contract. What we're looking to do is very similar to what we've done with all the contracts that have been in front of the board, is do a 3-year plan. Very minor changes in that 3-year plan. Coaches would see no salary change, but we would establish criteria for years of service, very similar like having there to support staff. So it would be maybe a 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 based off of experience that they have or provide the district, and they would be awarded for that service up to a threshold there. So the coaches would be no salary change, so no budget impact there. Student activities and the arts positions, same thing, no change, no additional positions. Event workers is we're looking to raise our wages, and they are a per event rate. What the athletic director Shelley did, she polled 20 districts, and we are the lowest of the 20 districts polled for event workers. So we're looking, like we've done, to increase that to kind of match our peers. So we're looking from any position from $4 to $10, and that's, like I said, per event, so anywhere from $30 to $65. So not a lot of money per event, but it adds up for all the positions we have to 8,100 increase. So we're just going to ask that we can add the increase to event workers, and then the subsequent years $2 per position to catch up to the people that are ahead of us, to try to entice some event workers.
Any questions?
Do we think it's actually going to help us get more event workers?
We have a lot of internal people. I think it might entice a couple internal people to maybe apply that don't, or do more events. It's a little bit more money.
Because I know that most people are teachers or
They're usually
staff, and then people just in the town. I don't feel like we're going to be getting
No,
outside people coming.
we
You're not
could-
gonna bust them in, right?
paying for event
we could
workers.
probably get maybe the people to do more events. I think that was some of the complaint, is they felt like it wasn't worth the pay, the time and effort pay that they're getting for the events. So that's why we kind of did the survey to see where we're at in relation to others, and we're lower, so we're like, okay, that has some merit behind that.
So that would go into this budget.
That would be on to this budget, because we would run it effective July 1 of '24. And it would be a 3-year plan to 2027. So we would accommodate this initial increase of 8,100, and then it would be less the following 2 years. And kind of raise this up. Some of the positions were anywhere from $20 to $40 higher than us. Just to give you a so we're gonna jump into the SSO options. Just gonna remind the board that we were tasked to present a couple options in the last meeting, and Dr. Naylor's gonna have those options here, his presentation, and I'll just let him take over. Do you wanna run it?
Do you have the,
Do you
no,
wanna-
you're already linked up.
I can,
I-
yeah, you can give me the point.
What I did was provided each of you a copy of Pennsylvania school security personnel definitions and what Pennsylvania allows through Act 67 with regards to personnel and requirements. So you're going to see three different options there. We're looking primarily at, if you want to go to the next slide, Tom, we're looking at the school security guard option. And from that perspective, I think the one before you, I think you skipped one. There you go.
Sorry.
There you go. The school security guard is an individual that is licensed under the Uniforms Firearm Act, completes Act 235, is lethal weapons training, and is certified, and completes a basic NASRO school resource officer course. And your options are to hire directly through the school district for that individual, a third-party vendor, or an independent contractor. And you can see the certifications and the requirements that are listed at the bottom. And it gets into more detail as to what they are in your document. So the next slide is the options that we have. Hire a Littlestown school district safety officer, and they would fall under the support staff contract or contracted services, a one-year contracted services, third party through a third-party vendor or an independent contractor. So the recommendation that I am making to the committee is to hire through the grant that we've been afforded a safety officer. And I provided with you in that second document what the job description would be for that position, the hourly rate for the 180-day position, and the estimated salary and benefits, $67,000, which is benefits and wages, health insurance for the employee as well as spouse. So that's probably the maximum amount for that position. And we have budgeted, or we have been granted a PCCD grant for $70,000 for next year. The next slide is the other option that we could have, and that would be contracted services. So I contacted G-Force and asked them for what it would be to add an additional safety officer to the final year of our G-Force contract. And I also asked for M Protective out of York to give us the same quote for a one-year safety officer, and they provided that to us. So one might ask, how is Littlestown, or how is a private provider able to survive at almost the same amount that we're budgeting for? And what you have to understand is there are a number of qualified, retired police officers, whether that's PSP or a municipal police officer, and their benefit package and the way that's structured is a lot of those individuals have 25-year retirement clauses and incentives with health benefits. So if you look at that as part of the grand scheme of things, we're proposing hiring our own safety officer. And if we look at our hiring practices, like we do our teaching staff, and hire the best qualified individuals, and as per is outlined in the job description, we may come out well below that $67,000 estimate from our end. So those are some things to think about. I can't guarantee anything, but that's, as you look at that and you look at the financials, those are some considerations or possibilities. So the next slide kind of speaks to those budget implications. Currently in the budget, we have one safety officer position budgeted for next year. The grant would give us the opportunity to fund a second safety officer. That would cover next year. And as you look to next year, our G-Force contract is expiring. So we would have to discuss and determine next steps as to how we would want to proceed for the following year with already having a safety officer budgeted in the current budget, and that following through as well next year and our future thinking. Questions?
So you foresee the applicant pool being retired officers, that's what we...
I would see that would be probably the most skilled individuals that we would want to have on our campus versus a person that hasn't gone through over 900 hours of police academy training and just going through lethal weapons training for a week. Those are the considerations I think we would look at, and how it's kind of outlined as well in the job description for those qualifications. I think we would be cognizant of that, and those are kind of the different skill sets you look for when you're hiring anybody, whether it's a classroom teacher or, in this case, a safety officer. You look at those skill sets and what the qualities of those individuals are, and that's where some of them usually rise above another candidate. So.
And second question, the grant. So that's a single-year grant, correct?
Correct.
So is that open again next year for application? No?
No.
No, okay.
No, it's that grant has come around a couple of times now since I've been here at Littlestown, so, but it's not a guaranteed,
Right.
hey, you'll see it in 2 years or not.
Okay.
So,
Just check.
yep, absolutely.
Dr. Naylor, what types of credentials does our current safety officer for G-Force?
Retired military, retired Maryland Police Academy trained municipal officer, number of years of services with their investigative unit as well. Our first safety officer was a Pennsylvania State Police trooper, retired for a number of years. So those are the types of individuals that are private providers or third-party vendors are looking to hire, obviously, and understanding the unique skill set that you need in a school setting as well. I don't think we would deviate from that practice either.
So if we do, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Go ahead.
Okay, if we move them in-house, what's sort of the chain of command?
I would be their supervisor.
You would be their supervisor, okay,
As I am now
as you are now, all right.
for the contracted services officer.
Okay.
So, just looking across the board, the pool that you're going to be pulling from for expertise, experience, longevity of understanding the field, whether it's we in-house or whether we private contract.
Private contractor, you take what they give you.
So, with a renewing of the contract the following year, we could get a 1-week trained Act 35 bare minimum.
Absolutely.
So there's no guarantee that we'll keep that pool up.
We've had a number of safety officers as well leave us that are highly qualified.
So
And I think Mr. Lawyer knows as well with that, and part of that is related to, I can't get into details, but it's,
Yeah, I do. So, I think if you have an in-house, the advantage of having more control
absolutely.
is something that really needs to be,
Yeah,
you know, at least talked about and talked through, because, you know, it's, you know, there's many ways to paint the barn, but what's the best, right?
Exactly.
Dr. Miller, what about the training? So like, does G-Force do continuing training and
No.
things of that nature?
For their employees, it's up to the employee to have their, the recert with the lethal weapons and things of that nature. Now, obviously, we can provide opportunities for them to participate in training, but they don't specify we do continuing training and so forth and so on. That's part of the legal requirement with some of the certifications that need to happen.
And so we bring in a second safety officer in, say it's an in-house person.
Mhm.
We have a G-Force person already. What does the sort of relationship look like between, I mean, because in my opinion, that's kind of telling the person who got a contract with for services that, sorry, we don't think that you're doing a good job, or we don't want you, or whatever.
I can't get into details,
Think about competition.
but think that through.
Yeah.
Think that through.
Yeah.
I can't speak for our current safety officer, but I can. I'm confident in this proposal I'm recommending to you.
And I'm trying to tread on the verge of not going over the line in terms of personnel.
Those are things you would manage, whether that's an LIU teacher in the classroom, across the hallway is a Littlestown employee that's teaching. We do that seamlessly. They know no difference. Our kids know no difference between an LIU teacher and a Littlestown teacher. Why is that? Because the supervisor provides that environment where that collaboration occurs, and that supervision is one where they understand the goals of the district and their position, the goals of what we need to do on a daily basis. So, yeah, I'm not really concerned about that. That's something that individuals that are in that field of service understand as well, what they're trying to help and do while they're on duty.
Are we pretty satisfied with the person that we've been provided for G-Force?
110%.
And this might not, could be something you can answer, it might be something that you need to answer. I would anticipate our insurance is gonna go up. If I have
Maybe
an
not.
employee who carries,
We won't know that until we would go through the quoting process. I could not speak if it would go up or down, or we would be able to just add a clause without doing that legwork.
I guess the only way to find that out is move option 1 forward, so you could do that.
That would be, that's what's gonna be the ask once we have the final discussion here, is the ask would be the committee to pick one to move forward to Monday to be approved, so we can use the grant money for it, because the grant timing is June 30th, so if we miss it, we could lose out on the grant money. So we need a recommendation to be approved in the June meeting. So that's what the committee is gonna select, one to push forward, we discussed, and we voted on. So that's why Dr. Navar's here to present, to have us, and we recommended as administration option 1, to have an in-house safety officer.
You good with that? Brian, you good with it?
Brian.
Yep, sorry.
now, I'm actually gonna be the dissenting voice here.
Yes, and if you want me to supervise, I will supervise, and if you want me to continue to explain, I will continue to explain. So,
There are reasons why those gentlemen moved on from their position with the company that we currently deal with, contract with.
Okay, so
So I think you should
there's
take
gonna
that
be,
into.
there's gonna be more deliberation when it
Yeah.
goes forward, and we will have more information as it comes forward.
I almost feel, because I don't know if I'm on the same page as you, Brian, you probably know stuff I don't. And so, is it something that?
I'll speak to the first safety officer. He left because of G-Force.
Yes,
He
Mr.
didn't
Hawkins.
leave because of Little Sound. So I'll speak for I'll speak for Kim Hawkins.
Yes.
He left because of G-Force.
He was fantastic. He was fantastic. He was fantastic with the kids. That was when my children were in the elementary school, and he talked to those kids every day. He was, I thought, as important as any teacher in the building. He had a relationship with the twins at that time, and I was sad to see him go. He was a good man. We lost out.
And historically, that was a in-house, or was that?
No, that was when he was with
Oh.
G-Force.
It was a G-Force employee, that we've only had G-Force employees.
Yeah, we got Englishman. And we've lost others because of that too. And other schools have lost safety officers. My neighbor used to be a safety officer.
So, I think we'll, move forward.
Option one.
Option one.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll have something on the work session to be approved. Okay, so we already did the ask there for the SSO option, so we'll jump into mental health. So currently in the budget for mental health is that $526,000. Within that $526,000, we have allotted 4 positions. That 4 positions equates to that $473,000 number, which is to accommodate 2 psychologists, 1 mental health therapist, and 1 behavior specialist. We presented this a couple months ago, and then we presented that the PCCD grant was a meritorious that was awarded to us that would be able to accommodate the 5th position. What we're asking tonight is to bring basically the 6th position, which would be a 5th one internally, for a budget increase of $42,000, which equates to about a 0.22% tax increase. We feel the need of the mental health, so this is something to be revisited, but that's just the ask for tonight. We've kind of talked at length about the mental health stuff. Dr. Jassky's here for any questions on what that 5th position, 5th internal would provide, or if we would not move it forward, we would lose out on it. So if you have questions for her, she's here to answer any of the questions, so you guys can make a recommendation.
Nick, do you have any questions?
I noticed the number didn't go down from the last time it was pitched, 2 months ago.
The last time would have been when we had the psychologist outside. I mean, now we're able to put them inside. So the in-district positions, Carolyn, are how many?
4.
Right. So 4 people are employed by the district in the budget.
There was a savings, we realized some savings from bringing the contractor service to in-house.
So none of the budgeted are cognitive health.
They are currently, because they won't start until.
Till the new school year.
The next year.
Yes.
So they're district funded, our
Right,
people.
but 24, 25.
They would be district.
They're our people.
Yes, they would be
They're
LASD
Latone,
employees.
they're a bowl, they'll be a bowl,
Yes,
they'll be a bowl.
yes. They'll be funded.
That is correct.
The 5th position would still be contracted through the PCCD
been on this journey since 2018 with the school board, working with teachers and staff and trying to adequately address the needs of our students. And so when I would work with the board and the board started to recognize, and one of their goals, which you probably already know, was recognizing social, mental, and physical health is vital in creating a safe and positive environment for all. So this has been a journey. So that sixth position that I am asking for is that behavioral specialist position. Because right now, we do have two. One is elementary and one is secondary. If that sixth position is not there, that means one behavioral specialist will be serving K through 12. And when we started on this journey, like I said, we did have one. So which means if we do go back to one, this is the impact that it will have. So instead of 358 student observations that are done K through 12 by two people, one person will be expected to do to meet the needs of these students. There are 115 students this year that received direct services through behavior specialists, through two of them. Now one of them would be expected to do that. Also, meeting with parents and teachers regarding behaviors for students and supporting them. There are over 500 of those meetings. So going back to one behavioral specialist, the impact that would cost, it will be half the students would not be receiving some kind of direct behavioral support services. Students, teachers, parents. So that would be the impact if we do not have our second position of our behavioral specialist. And also with that, they also do, I have 3 classes of intensive learning support and 3 classes of intensive behavioral support, and all those students in those classes must receive social skills. So those behavioral specialists goes in that classrooms and they do social skill groups with those students by group or individually. They also go into the regular ed classrooms and they work on social skills group, executive functioning. They did that last year with all the 9th graders they put in here. So the impact is large that a good number of our students will not be benefiting from. And in addition, I'm able to keep kids here in the district because we do provide those supports to our students instead of sending them out to, as many out to River Rock or to Paradise or to alternative placements. Now, I'm not saying I don't utilize them. We do have to at sometimes, but because I have those classes here that we're able to provide those supports to those students, we're able to keep them here and educate them here in the district. So, are there any questions?
Yes, Dr. Friaski, if there's a great need for the behavioral specialist position, would it be possible to move forward with 2 behavioral specialists and 1 mental health therapist?
No, because that need is just as important. Because there are over 100 students who receive mental health services, and those students are the most needy. So if we only have 1, then only half our students will be receiving those mental health therapy services.
What did we do with the mental health therapy before the level of program started?
They did not get seen. True North would come in, and because a lot of our families would have access, they would not get therapy services. They would be put on waiting lists, and they would not get seen for 4 to 6 months. And then they'd wind up, a big problem was they wind up in the counseling office. And they would sit there and take up the counselor's time. I mean, hours upon hours, not just 20-minute visits. You know, one student coming in for 2 hours sitting with the counselor, and the counselor has a lot of duties to do.
And so, the behavior specialist is more of a intervention person for a student that has struggled with their behaviors?
Correct.
So,
Correct.
and
Teaching them social.
what does their day-to-day look like?
Oh my goodness. Anything from spending time in the classroom, in the behavioral support classrooms, working with students individually, providing groups, running down to the kindergarten classroom when Susie is having a meltdown, to running up to the high school because there's a fight going on or there's some kind of social issue happening. Students in the counseling office because they're crying because of some mental concern that they're having outside of the school district or in school with other students.